were some of the implications of the trial? The trial made it very clear that the Spanish did view the natives as people, but they viewed them as inferior forms. They were intellectually deficient and they were prone to lying. And we also get to see more of the natives' perspective, especially with Sebastianico's statement that Francisco de Solis era un loco. They were unafraid to express themselves and say what was actually going on. Because all of this, all of them, were still under the encomenderos' control. But they still went and testified against Solis. This trial also showed how the indigenous people held on with all their might to their religious and cultural practices. We see that in one of the testimonies from the witnesses. He is upset, and this was Miguel de la Casa. He was very upset about the fact that the indigenous people continued to use their semis and continued to use herbs, which were all part of their original culture. So there was a clear refusal to accept the religious invasion. There were some natives that were raised with the Spanish and refused to do La Ave Maria. We know some other cases, even years later, where this was still happening. But they were still willing to use like different technology. We see several times references that a shovel was used to supposedly bury one of them, one of the either GUAYABAX or FRANCISQUITO. And we know that this was deeply concerning, their lack of apego a la religión católica. We have a letter from Diego Colón while on the island on the 6th of June, 1511. And he told the king that los indios de la Española, que no tienen más de cristiano sino el nombre, salvo los muchachos que crían los frailes en los conventos, que aquellos dicen que los hacen bien. And we also see how the Taino burial practices affected the Spanish. When King Ferdinand heard about, we can assume this particular case, but probably other cases where indigenous people would leave bodies out into La Sabana to rot. The king was very distraught by this. He did not like this. And he ordered for the use of books or registries to mark the birth and death of the natives because it pained him, as he himself wrote, que los entierren en el campo como a infieles. It could also be that this case brought a precedent that scared the Spanish. Because we know of another case from 1525 of a licenciado Altamirano, who was the governor of Fernandina, now known as Cuba, who was brought to account in Spain. But one of the things that was asked was the following. Se le hace cargo que estando proveído y no usado en estas partes que ningún indio se le tome juramento en ningunas causas por ser los tales indios incapaces y no saber qué cosa es juramento ni en qué consiste el odio, se les tomó juramento a indios bozales contra un Antonio de Valladolid. It made it clear that they wanted to prohibit the use of indigenous people in trial. Their reasoning was that the indigenous people didn't have a concept of vowing or of taking oath, and that they didn't have the capacity to know when they were being truthful or not. However, this didn't stop the indigenous people from using the court system when they needed to. We have so many different cases of indigenous people who fought through the court systems to get back their freedom and to get back home. We have cases from Mexico, Peru, Cuba, Borinquen y el Boye, o Santo Domingo.